right away instead of talking about unit 8, just because this week we kind of waste a lot of time. We don't have Tuesday or Friday, which won't hurt us schedule-wise at all. Let's go shut the door. Unit 8, if you look at the kind of the chart, unit. That's a good time. It looks like there's a lot of stuff in Unit 8. And the packet's relatively thick. But it's not too many topics. And or some of the topics we've kind of already done. We're basically learning 4 new things in Unit 8. And so this unit shouldn't take us forever. We are doing Unit 7 last. Because the way that the chart is kind of organized, Unit 6 is all about integration, right? And then Unit 8 is basically a majority of integration. Unit 7 is somewhat like word problems-ish on integration. And so it kind of feels better to do that one after 8. Since you guys are so in the flow and theme of doing integration, going right to 8 will just kind of keep that up, so that you don't forget things, kind of reinforce it better. If all goes according to plan, we should have a week and a half, 2 weeks to review. 2 weeks? Oh, I thought you were like telling me how long you have. Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know how you knew that one like already, but okay. But when I say it goes according to plan, it's very difficult to plan Calc that far ahead of time, because certain topics may take some classes longer to learn than others. You know, like maybe in pre-calc last year, maybe for some reason you guys had to really rush. We'll just bring up trig. Like, let's say you had to really rush doing unit circle trig. And our topic that we were teaching uses a lot of unit circle trig. I'd probably have to review some of that with you, and might take like a day longer, something like that. So we'll see if there's anything that you guys are kind of missing out on facts of as we go along. But a majority of it is integration right now, so you should be good. We start off in 2 dimensions, and then we switch to 3-dimension volume, which for some people, no issues. Some people, for the life of them, cannot visualize it. And you probably already know yourself enough to know whether you're that person or not. I do have some models that students have created in the past, like when we had time for projects and things like that. So I'll do my best to make use of those to try to help you see how it would actually work out. So Unit 8 won't feel much different, other than it involves a lot of drawings. Section 1, mean value theorem for integrals. So we had a mean value theorem for derivatives it feels like forever ago, but it actually was only a handful of months ago. And that one was finding the average slope between the endpoints, and then finding the location in the middle that was like the C value that had that exact slope. So this one's obviously slightly different, just because we're not doing derivatives. But the mean value part of this, like I'm hoping you've heard mean value enough by now that you just know that means average. I mean, that's literally all we're trying to find. We're just trying to find the average height of a graph. So like when you have a curve, you know, obviously the height is different everywhere. But if we look at a little local section, we want to try to figure out what the average height of that is, because in some cases that's useful depending on what it stands for. This is the actual theorem. We Who's next? Who's been called on like every day from the roller or other people? No, you haven't. That was a good time. You've been called on for your size. Yeah, you were specifically called on. Really, nobody here has been rolled a lot or called on them a lot? I'm gonna have them pick who goes first. That's what I was trying. I wasn't trying to say I was gonna call on that person. All right. Who's gonna go first?
We'll go with Zach.
Okay, Zach. What does the integral from a to b of f of x dx represent if you're looking at a picture?
The height?
No.
The area.
There we go.
Because.
I was gonna say, the last 6 weeks has not done well for you. Absolutely. I know I just mentioned height, yes. So the integral represents the area if you're looking at a picture. Help me out with the next person, or you can keep answering, whatever.
23.
18, 19, 20, 23. No.
B? That'd be great, what?
What does b minus a
B
represent?
minus A, that's like the distance between the A and the B.
The width, yep. That's gonna be the width of your graph. And then f of c, I suppose you wanna answer it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, what's f of c represent?
So C is like the.
Nope, just
slope.
f of c.
F of C is like the slope at that one specific point. Or the-
You're thinking f prime of c.
Okay, so the height at that specific.
There we go.
point.
F of c is the height of the graph. And correct, it's the height at one spot. So this formula basically says that the area is going to be the width times the height. And the height it's referencing is the average height. So your shape, whatever you have, your curve, you can think of as a absolutely distorted rectangle, where your rectangle would have nice sides and bottoms, but the height of your rectangle is kind of warped, right? Like this one, essentially like if somebody pushed down on the top. But the area of that distorted rectangle would still be valid. And we know how to find the area of a curvy spot. So if we take the area and divide it by the width, we get the height. I know we did this for one other topic, but I can't remember what it was for. I felt like we did this year already a little bit. Am I just remembering a different year? Have we done anything like this yet? I felt like we did, but I couldn't remember what it was for. I thought we did it when we started doing area of a picture, but it was when it was geometric shapes.
Yeah.
I felt like we did it during that section. So I thought you might already be somewhat familiar with this topic, even though this is the actual theorem. And this is now just going to be whatever function you have. Like it's not gonna be a geometric one where you find the area by hand. But either way, the goal of this is your average height. I think it's on the bottom of the page. Yeah. The average height is gonna be the area, and then this is kind of how you can say divided by the width. It'll have a multiplier in the front of the integral that's 1 over the width. So this would be the average height. And they traditionally will never phrase it this way, but that's probably how your head will interpret it. You can write it this way. I have very seldom ever seen it written like this. On the AP test, they always pretty much exclusively write it like that top one. Okay, now, last thing. Want to call somebody?
Sure.
What do you got going on right there?
Selection.
Why is there 4 dice?
Because, so I can do their 4 rows, right?
Yep.
So there are 4 rows, and I have percentile die. This helps me to know which row, because I can do 0.25, and then I multiply that by the 6-sided die, and which row it's in, and then I I use these two to determine the person. Like here, I had this 20 and the 1.
What are percentage dice? I've never heard of those.
That's it. It's basically,
What's that from?
you usually roll this and then 10-sided die, and then
Yeah.
the 10-sided die is like the ones place, or and
Yeah.
10's place, and this is the like 100's place. So like, here's the 10's place, depending on how you want to look at it.
Wait, where have you ever used those? Like, where did you even get those? Like, I had a ridiculously hard time finding different sized dice, even on Amazon.
I go to this game store.
Games by James?
No, it's actually called, shoot, it's in Hudson. I forget what it's called. I can show you later.
Hudson. I don't remember what being. Yeah, there's also like Hub Hobby. I don't know if you're ever. Okay, way off topic.
Yeah. Let's see where-
I was just a little amazed at the 4 dice method here. Who did we get?
29.
That was a lot of work to get 29.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 29. No. Oh, you read from the wrong direction. 28. You mad at her that you got wrong?
She told me I was 34.
Oh, okay. Your question,
Yeah.
after a lot of math
Yeah.
work. If that represents the average height,
Yeah.
how do we go about finding the actual individual C values? Like the X value, but it's written as a C.
I don't know.
Let's say the equation we were working with, I'll just make it pretty straightforward or something like that. Let's say we did this from 3 to 5, and we found out the average height was like 4.
Yeah.
Okay? How would we find that X value that the height of 4 happened at? We've done this before, but it's been a different setting, so I think that's why you're
Yeah.
thrown off. Okay? So x squared plus 3, it's gonna look like this. We only use it from 3 to 5, so we would basically be looking at something like that. So that's the heights of the graph. What's that equation that the graph was drawn from? Only one equation.
X squared plus
Yes,
3.
perfect. So we know the equation that drew the different heights. And if we want to know when this equation is at a height of 4, then you would make it equal to whatever your average value was. So I'm not even gonna pretend to know the average height. But we would make it equal to the average height and then solve for x there. So this portion of the question is gonna be similar to when we did mean value theorem for derivatives. You wrote, back then we did the average slope equal to the equation. Now we're gonna do the average height equal to the equation. Very similar. Okay, let's do an actual problem, just to help us go through it. Okay, Ava,
Yeah.
person. Wow, retribution for, oh, I was gonna say, that was pretty harsh retribution.
12?
9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's it. How do I start this out? It gives me an equation and it says find the average value of f from 1 to 4. Okay, perfect, that's a good start. So this will tell us the area from 1 to 4. And then you're just missing one little portion to find the average height. Because this is going to be the area. Perfect. You can either divide by the width or multiply by 1 over the width, which is 1 over b minus a. So we would do 1 over 4 minus 1. Excellent. This whole section is pretty much just using the formula. I mean, you don't even necessarily have to memorize the formula if you know what they represent. That's kind of why I started off presenting the way I did, because you have so many things to memorize in Calc already that I didn't want you to have to memorize another one. But everybody learned better one way or another. Can you call somebody to help me integrate this?
23.
Is this somebody very specific? Oh. Wait, didn't we already get 20, aren't you 23?
Yeah.
Yeah.
24.
He's busy. Oh. Can you help me integrate that?
Yeah,
You're just writing it down on paper, I think, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that becomes like.
I'll spot you the one, I'll spot you the 1/3.
Oh, yeah, and then you do it, it's to, and then it's, yeah, and then it's x to the power of 3 minus x squared.
Okay, so x to the power of 3 divided by 3 canceled out the times 3, correct? And then you said minus
X squared.
x squared, because when you divide by the 2, it cancels out the 2. This one was obviously set up to work out pretty nice. And then we want to integrate it from 1 to 4. Go ahead, whoever's trying to ask it.
No, we figured it out.
Oh, all right. The 1/3 traditionally you'll multiply at the very end, but if you want, you can do the 1/3 on each term as well. That's kind of your choice, how you want to approach it. Most people just have an easier time doing it at the end. Next person to help me show that they know how to do the definite integral part.
3.
Is it just 1/3 x to the x cubed over, or minus 1/3 x squared?
Wait, oh, did you just distribute that out?
Yeah.
Okay, I was hoping you could do this portion for me.
Oh.
Well, what you said wasn't wrong either, you could multiply that out now if you wanted. I'll do it afterwards, just to save space, but, just because I hate writing fractions. How do we do the 4 and the 1? That's what I was hoping you could tell me.
Then you just plug it in.
Yep.
On different issues.
Which order, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Which number first?
Plug in the 4.
Okay, plug in the top one first, so 64 minus 16 minus, I literally just did exactly what I said I didn't want to, but, and then plug in the 1 last. I should have asked you this part, but subtract.
Yeah, 1 minus 1.
Oh, I like this math. This math is really easy. Okay, that cancels out. 48?
Yeah.
16 or 18?
16.
So the average height is 16. That's really high. I suppose it's a parabola. I suppose the parabola over at 4 is pretty high already because you multiply by 3. Okay, so the average height is 16. Obviously, this one was set up so you got a nice answer. Most of the time, this will not be a nice answer. If you're using decimals, go to 3 decimal places. If it's fractions, leave it as a fraction. Anybody want to help me with B?
16.
Gotcha. How do I find the specific value of C that has that height? What did I put? We almost had a copyright strike in the middle of our notes. I had that happen when, during distance learning, if I had Spotify playing in the background, my video would get taken down. What equation are we looking at or focused on? Like if we were to draw this problem from the very beginning, what equation would we draw? Yes. So we've got 2 equations written up there. I guess that's why I was asking you. So I've got an equation here, and then I've got the integral answer. I wasn't sure which one you're referring to. Which one would I draw if I'm trying to find the area? The first one. So the x squared minus 3x squared minus 2x is the one I would draw if I want to find the area. So the 3x squared minus 2x is basically the equation being referenced for all the different things. The average height of this equation is 16 from 1 to 4. I screwed up already. Do you guys remember where I screwed up? I even told you this was a big deal back when we did it in Jersey. Oh my God, who said no plus C's? I used an X. And it's specifically, what doesn't say it here? Well, it doesn't even say it up there. When they write f of c, it's telling you that c is the variable. So I botched this one and I would have gotten points deducted. I would have to write 3c squared minus 2c, and now it's a lot better. Not unless it tells you or starts asking for f of c. So this whole answer that's up here is what f of c is equal to. But if we're looking for the specific c value, then that means we would have to write out the equation with the c value and make it equal to the number we're trying to find, which is 16. We okay with that? No? Okay. Oh, but now I gotta solve. Who's gonna be the brave one? Who's brave soul to solve? You guys are all smart. You should be all brave souls. Yep. Okay, factor?
So you subtract the 16.
That's one method. Probably will work. My guess is this is a nice answer just because the way the problem is set up. If it doesn't factor, then we go to quadratic formula. Or completely square, but nobody does that.
So we multiply the 3 and the 16.
I'm not doing that. We're smarter.
Okay.
See,
Guessing check method.
in algebra 2, we teach the method to multiply the outside numbers because a lot of people are not good at doing combinations in their head. You guys are supposed to be.
Well,
So you are supposed to be the group that just guesses and checks because that's a million times faster.
3c in the front of 1 and c in the front of the other.
You're killing them.
Okay.
They're not as fast as you.
So you need something that multiplies to 3c squared, so 3c and c.
So that's the only way to get 3. We started with that one because of that. The 16 has lots of options, so now we just find the pair that makes -2.
So that would be,
I usually start in the middle, so we'll see if 4 and 4 work. 12, 4, no. So I erase 4 and 4. Obviously a lot better on the electronic eraser. So I guess we'll try 8 and 2. So I'll put the 8 here, because if I put the 8 on the outside, that would go a 3 and be way too big. So now I have 6 and 8, and that works perfect. -2 would give me a -8 plus 6. That's how you guys are supposed to factor because you're generally really good at doing combinations in your head. Absolutely, you can do the multiply the outside number method. I'm just telling you, you never want to do that on the AP test. It'll take you far too long to finish the problem. No, the middle terms. The middle terms would be the O and I from 4. +6, -8. Whoa. Go back. +6 and -8 makes -2. We want to add to the middle. We don't even look at the outside terms because we were putting numbers in that make the outside terms already. So we knew the first and the last term would be correct automatically. So we only look for the inside term by doing the O and the I from FOIL. It's been a long time since you factored them. That makes -16, yeah. That's why I put 8 and 2 in. I don't have to check that one because I clipped it. You can check all 4 if you want, you just don't need to. Okay, apparently we get 8/3 and -2. You guys want me to finish that? Do you remember where the answers from factoring comes from?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I was hoping you could try number 2 on your own. I can start it with you if we need to, but I was hoping you guys would already be at the stage where you know how to read a problem and kind of like figure that part out. The average value is the part that's new. This one does not ask you to find the C value, by the way. It just wants the average value. Oh, I didn't even think that we don't really have school tomorrow for, I remember I told you homework was due by Tuesday. I was just about to remind you of that, and then I realized we sort of don't have school. You guys have homework done by Wednesday morning? I'll go through and check it on Wednesday, see who's not done with what. Notice the calculator is next to this question. You don't have to do it by hand. You could, but it'd be taking us forever. Bless you. I kind of wanted to let you try this one because it's got all sorts of different numbers, terms, words that make you kind of thrown off as to what you're actually working with. The equation itself is the only thing you actually care about, and the 2010 to 2020. That's all it asks for. It asks for nothing else. Like the 6.1 billion is worthless. The 1.4% per year is worthless because it says rate of growth, making things derivatives. You don't need that at all. That's built into the formula.
We did at the end when it asks for the units.
L4 window.
And since you're using calculator, you're not even like really doing much of the work. Should we answer it already? Somebody type it in already? Do they not trust their answer? Why? You typed it in a calculator. The calculator shows you what you typed in. I mean, it's obviously gonna be bigger than 6.1, but probably not a lot bigger. Hmm?
Average height is the average.
Population.
I got 7.531.
Good. Pretty straightforward. There's a lot of stuff written in the problem that you don't use. So nobody wants to give me an answer that they got because they don't trust it.
7.532.
531? Okay? I mean, that sounds right to me because I knew it would be bigger than 6.1, but it's only going up 1.4% per year, so it's not like it's skyrocketing. And then the last thing says, what are the units? Well, what the heck? Smart board. Millions of people. I told you billions up here, right here. And you're just finding what the equation represents, which is current population.
Wait, so for the, like, in general, for like the variables for the stuff, like, I know it takes off rates for like, you know, like by how much or like how big like important that is.
We'll ask that again?
Like how important is like not getting the variables, like it takes off limits, but how.
Oh, like if I wrote an X instead of a T. It depends on how they have the scoring guide set up. It's only on free response, obviously, but, so if the scoring guide would say something about writing the correct integral with correct units, even if you write the correct integral but write an X, you wouldn't get points for that. So that's usually how the scoring guide is set up. So traditionally, it would only tick off the points once. It wouldn't do it like on every single step. So I would guess max number of points 1. But it's still a lot. 1 out of 9, you get a free point for just writing the right variable. It is definitely annoying because it's something that I'm not always great at too. I just kind of get in the habit of X and write X all the time. But at least you only have 6 problems. So on those 6, you just try to be very self-aware that after you do the problem, you can go through and check for little things like that, like writing plus C, using the right variable. Yeah, that's kind of the tips we'll go over during the reviewing part. Are you guys okay with this? Okay? If I had to find the C value, wait, who did we call on last? If we had to find the Z value, who's gonna help me answer that question, unless you want to?
I think Noah should pick someone since he answered the last question.
You just really don't wanna pick on somebody that bad? You have a number.
Let's go.
Okay, Noah. Call on, oh. Now I know why you picked my number. I'll go take a break. Oh, we got cards now? What is this?
I forgot to shuffle one
Noah, what?
sec. You used dice last time.
How are we using the?
So it'll be 11.
How did we come up with 11 from the cards?
So you flip the coin.
Yep.
And I got tails, so it'll be back 2 rows. And I flip over the 3 cards.
Oh, you've got 9 cards. Gotcha. Okay. What'd you say, 11?
Yeah, 11.
9, 10, 11. Didn't you already answer?
Yeah, no.
Let's just go. We don't want to have to do cards again. If I had to find the C value, how would I find it? This one doesn't ask for it, but it would the C value would basically be asking at what specific point in what year would the current population be 7.531 billion.
The 6.1 equation equal to the.
Perfect. You would set the equation that we integrated equal to 7.531, and that would undoubtedly be in the calculator portion of the test. We could do it by hand, but it would take a long time for no extra purpose. So usually the by hand portions of the test are something that can go quick. This one would just go slower if you had to do it by hand because of all the different decimals and things. So you would just set the equation equal to that, solve them however you prefer to. Something tells me we should probably go over that during the review part of the AP test, huh? Do you guys think you're going to feel comfortable using your calculator by then? Because we've kind of had all year. I know I see you guys using it all the time. You mainly want to know how to type an integral into your calculator. You want to know how to type a derivative into your calculator. And you want to know how to solve 2 things equal to each other on the calculator. Now each calculator is slightly different, but those are going to be the main 3 things you need to know how to do. So work on that if you're not good at that by now. Do you want me to continue in the notes? I thought it would be kind of beneficial. Oh, yes, one more for sure. I certainly can. I was going to say, I know some of you have the day off tomorrow, and like this section is your homework for tomorrow. So that would basically be 9th and 12th grade, or 10th and 11th who opted out of the MCA. Those of you who are taking the MCA test, theoretically, this is your homework tomorrow, but you're just probably going to be pretty brain dead. I know the MCA is not quite as long as the ACT. I think the MCA is 2.5 hours or something. I don't remember. I pretty much exclusively take 2 days off per year, and that is the day of the MCAs and ACTs. So I can't stand watching people take a test. This will be your homework for tomorrow, whether you're taking the test or not. And I don't necessarily like having to do that, but we're kind of at the point of the year where we can't push things back to add extra days, because that'll just take out review days for you too. So this you'll have, I'll do another example, but make sure you try to have this done by Wednesday. I think there was one on this page, yes. Supersonic Man, Chuck Yeager. I believe he was the first one to break the speed of sound. Is that correct? No aviation fans in here? Okay. You guys are supposed to be the people that will become the pilots or the people that design the planes. You're supposed to be passionate about something. You can't be just passionate about phones. That's not going to get you super far. Now, programming absolutely will. But just playing on the phone is not a good passion. You want to learn, you want to like something. Usually there should be somebody in every class that's like different types of topics. So nobody in here likes flying. Because we usually get quite a few people each year going to the University of North Dakota because that's where they have the pilot training. What is it? Aeronautics engineer? Okay, I take it nobody even here has looked into that. Holy man. You guys sound just as bad as my daughter. She's graduating this year and she still doesn't have a clue what she wants to do on anything. Make some decisions in your life. Even if they're wrong, you just make some and go with it. Okay, so this has a graph of how fast he was flying at what altitude. So it's a piece function, which was basically set up this way so that you guys could find the area either on your calculator or by hand. I would not recommend by hand. It's not terrible, but it would be a lot of putsy work. How would we type this in our calculator in one step? Does anybody feel like they know that? Oh, that was a big yawn. It's only second hour, but you did a good job of hiding it. Obi, let's go with you. You came in late. I should have called on you first. Why didn't I think of that? How would I find the area of the first section? Let's just do one of them. Say what? Okay, what would we type in then? Wait, what? Oh, you're talking about the x values. Okay, so it would be the integral from 0 to 11.5. Good. What equation would we type in there? Perfect. Perfect. Yep. So on your calculator, this is basically laid out how you would type it in. The integral from 0 to 11.5 of negative 4t plus 341. And then you would do plus. Rather than hitting enter 5 times, you hit plus. Then you would do the integral from 11.5 to 22 of 295. Plus the integral from 22 to 32 of 0.75t plus 278.5. Now I'm assuming now you kind of figure out the pattern there, right? That would be the best way to do it, rather than doing 5 separate answers and then adding them up by yourself, just because you actually have a bigger chance of an error trying to type in all that stuff separate and reading it on your paper, and doing it all in one step will just give you the answer you're looking for right away. So A, we're looking for the answer for the areas, and I see a bunch of people typing away. Caroline, did you get it already? You just don't want to say your answer? Okay, that's fine. You looked like you were ashamed of your answer. Oh, how do you do it on that one again? Hit the math button. And then I believe right below the bottom choice, it'll say FN int.
Yeah, sounds.
I can't see your calculator. Is that what it says? Okay, so then you would type the equation. You probably have an easier time doing 5 separate ones, just because it'll take up so much typing. After you're done with the equation, you would hit comma x to tell it what variable you're using, and then you hit comma, the bottom bound, the lower bound, comma, upper bound, parentheses. And it's does the same stuff. It's just a little bit longer to type it in. Was there anybody else in here that has 83 that wants help typing it in? I felt like this class had a couple, if I remember right, unless I'm thinking of last trimester. Okay, and you know how to use yours. Does anybody have an Inspire they need help with? Okay. We need a brave soul to give me their answer, because everybody felt like they did it wrong. What?
308.
3, exactly?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that was planned. So 308. And that would stand for meters per second per kilometer. I mean, the units is kind of horrible, but that's okay. Did anybody else get 308? Oh dear.
24,640.
That actually sounds more reasonable, to be honest. 308 sounds way too small.
From 0 to 8.
I think what you were giving me is the average height. You were giving me the answer to B. Let's just move that down a little bit. You just went a step too far. What did you say it was, 24,000? That sounds correct as well. Because it goes to 80, right? And then just roughly the average height is 300 plus. So 80 times 300 would be about 24,000. So that's a good way for you to estimate the answer. To find the average value, which is B, what are we going to divide by? 80 is the width of this graph. It goes from 0 to 80. Or 1 over B minus A would be 1/80th of the answer. Okay, draw the average value on the graph. What? Wait, it's already drawn. Oh, I'm done. I shouldn't say it that way. I'm using students' lingo too often now. Too many students say I'm dumb. Drawing the average value on here would be you drawing a flat line at 308 from 0 to 80. And that roughly makes sense and or appears correct because it's right about in the middle. Okay, this entire section, there are going to be some very straightforward problems like we started with. There are also going to be the word problems like these last couple we did. But you're always going to be doing the same thing. Either finding the area / getting to the average value, because there's only 2 steps involved in average value. The hardest questions will be the ones that ask for the individual C value. Okay. I don't know if you can have it done by Wednesday or not, because I'm sure some of you got things going on. Do your best. So basically, I'm going to start 8-2 on Wednesday, and then we'll A2 isn't that bad either. You'll probably be totally okay with it. And it's very possible we'll have some time on Thursday to work in class to maybe give you some time to finish some things up.